Hello, this is Reverend Don Lewis coming to you from the beautiful apocalypse. Just kidding, beautiful Florida. I'm Correllian, I don't believe in apocalypses, but I couldn't resist the line. Today, our question comes to us from Destination Lyra, and Destination Lyra has this question, or rather series of questions. Destination Lyra asks my opinion of the idea that extraterrestrials and things such as UFOs are showing themselves more often now. And do I think this means something? Do I see it as being good, bad, or neutral? And Destination Lyra points out that, for example, some sorts of Christians see them as demons, heralding bad things. And what do I think of this? And I have answers to all aspects of this question, but you may be disappointed in them. Because the first thing I'm going to say is what makes you think this is more frequent now? If you look at human history, there are reports of what are now called UFOs going all the way back to the 19th dynasty of Egypt, if not earlier. You see it in ancient Greece, ancient Rome, medieval Europe. It's all over history, and certainly all over the 20th century. And in my personal memory, based on how often I have heard reports of this sort of thing, I would say it was actually more frequent in the 1970s and 80s than it is today. So my first answer is I don't think it is happening more frequently. I think it has happened all along, and perhaps you might be noticing it more frequently, but I think every generation notices what happens to it and attaches greater importance to that and a perception of greater frequency than what happened to their parents' and grandparents' generation. I think that's just part of being human. But your parents' and grandparents' generations were seeing these things too. My grandmother used to see them back in the 1950s and 60s. It certainly is nothing new. And again, as to the idea that it's more frequent, I don't think looking at historical accounts actually bears that out. I think it's been pretty constant. Do I think it means anything? Well, in a manner of speaking, I do. I think it generally means something more on an individual than on a communal level. I have always found these experiences connected to spiritual healing. And when I've had this kind of experience myself or known people who had it, it was always connected to spiritual healing. And if you read many of those older accounts of people having this experience, though they don't always perceive it as a spiritual healing, you'll often notice that they talk about new talents being unleashed afterwards, things being healed afterwards, etc. And that's been my experience of what it leads to. So in my mind, it's a spiritual experience which involves healing, so a good thing. I don't think it necessarily means anything on a global level, because I don't think it's any different now than it's been. I just think people are perhaps more aware of it now, but I don't know that looking back on those earlier years, I'd even say that. I think people were more aware of it, again, in the 70s and 80s than they are today. Now, as to that last thing, about certain sorts of Christians thinking that these are demons, oogie boogie, seems to me that certain sorts of Christians perceive demons as being pretty much anything they don't like, from the common cold to stray bad thoughts, and that they use the term in a way that is so elastic that it has very little meaning. When Christian dominionists and people like them use the term demons, they're using it so elastically that I don't really have a clear concept of what they mean. I know what Hollywood means by the term. I know what mainstream Christianity means by the term. I know what D&D means by the term, but I don't know what these people mean by the term, because they seem to use it for everything they don't like. And that really is not a meaning for a term. But as for that perception of theirs, I would not give it a second thought. I think it's nonsense. But as for the experience of seeing UFOs and having alien encounters, I think it's essentially spiritual in character. I think it's been constant throughout history. I don't think it's actually any more frequent now. But I think it's a good thing when it happens. And those would be my thoughts on the matter. I hope you find them helpful, and until next time, may you blessed be.
Candle magic. Candle magic is the art of using a candle to focus your energy and intent to bring about a desired result. Usually the candle is lit and focused on for a period of meditation. The candle may then be allowed to burn on until it is consumed, in the belief that its burning is bringing the desired result into manifestation. Or the candle may be extinguished and the ritual repeated at intervals, such as every day for a set number of days. In addition, there are many other ways to use candles in the practice of magic. Always remember that magic is a tool of self-improvement and transformation and should be used with care and for the good of all.